Hi, I'm Sasha Nicole, and this is Nyla Rogers and Dennis Muongozi. I hope I pronounced that okay. Nyla is the
Yeah.
founder. Thank you. Nyla is the founder and business development lead for Mama Hope, and Dennis serves as the evaluation and learning lead at Mama Hope. Today, Nyla and Dennis will share with us about the work that Mama Hope is doing in collaboration with several communities in 5 different countries. Your organization serves to support community-led initiatives and ensure the communities have the freedom and resources necessary to build a better future for generations to come. The leaders and partners at Mama Hope operate under the philosophy that respect, dignity, and trust are crucial in the success of all projects they engage and seek to guide all partners at an eye level, not a top down or bottom up, but as equals who deserve to be heard. I'm sure you will find the impacts of their work to be very inspiring. So, Nyla and Dennis, thank you both for being here today.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
us.
Sasha. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. It's great to have you. So, just to begin, Nyla, as the founder, can you just tell us a little bit about what inspired you to found Mama Hope?
Yes. So I have had a background doing international development work pretty much straight out of college. I studied global studies and then went on to do a master's in peace and conflict transformation. And I then went to work at the United Nations, and I saw just kind of the bureaucracy of international development at a really, like, I would say, early time in my career. And one particular moment was just being in a room with a bunch of ambassadors from all over the world and seeing how people really weren't listening to each other, that it was much more of a show, where different ambassadors were, my friend Gustav, and, kind of these pleasantries, but things weren't getting done. And I really wanted to see the communities be represented. And you could just tell that that was not happening. And so when I finally got a chance to go and start to do international development work, I just learned about visionaries all over the world who had answers, who had innovative ideas to transform their communities. And after seeing like millions of dollars go to things where there really wasn't counsel from the communities, I just wanted to figure out, how do we truly just build a bridge directly to the people who are making change?
That's excellent. That's a really good point. Um, and then tell us about. I'm curious from both Dennis and Nyla how you both met and how this friendship and eventual collaboration was formed.
Dennis, do you want to start?
Sure. Thank you, Sasha. We met, Naila met back in 2012. Um, I was working, or my family was working with an individual from the US, and we were working with Forum Theater and how that engages the community in discussions about issues that face the community. And then she told us about, we asked about if there was, you know, potential people, organizations we could partner with. And she mentioned about Naila. And so the first time I met Naila, she had come to visit to see what we do in Budondo. I was very interesting to see, because the picture I had in my mind was, we are going to, is it going to be like spreadsheets? So is it going to be on your work plan? So, well, there comes Naila, sits in our family living room, and we're just having a conversation, we're having a chat. And it was very interesting to go from up here of like the pressure of how you're going to organize, how you're going to present, to having a casual conversation to learn about her, about her country, about her work, and taking walks in the village where we were working, and just spend a couple of days just having a conversation and learning about each other's work and about each other. And that's the first time I met Maya, and it was very, uh, yeah, a very natural way of getting to know someone, or that you are going to work with, or potentially going to work with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Naila,
It
do
was,
you have something to add?
well, it was very familial from the minute we met, because I was taking a night bus from Nairobi to Kampala, and then hopping out in between in in Iganga, where Dennis was meeting me at sunrise.
Oh
And
wow.
there was, so I just got off at a stop as the sun was rising,
Yeah.
and it was just a really beautiful moment in the fact that um Dennis took us over to his sister's house, where we took a nap because he knew that we had been on a night bus all night, and then we went out to Budendo to stay with his family. And so immediately we were kind of welcomed into the Makisa family, and which is such an honor, and drinking lemongrass tea on the back porch and looking at the stars, and really just really getting to know each other. I think Dennis really summed it up. You know, the way that we form partnerships, and we really see that uh, we're really there to kind of just listen to the communities, to their ideas, to their dreams, and then not really make any decisions or plans. It's really just about kind of seeing if everything is in alignment. And it was so clear from the very beginning that Dennis and his family had an incredible vision for their community, which I'll let Dennis talk more about, with building health services and health clinic for his community. And it was very easy to fall into a partnership um, that has grown now for almost 10 years. And seeing us through all these different stages, really in the beginning of Mama Hope, and then now having Dennis work with me, has just been the greatest pleasure ever.
Oh wow. So another question, kind of you led into it a little bit, but who determines what projects should be invested in? That
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Can I take that? So I think it's also a highlight of how Mama Hope model works, because uh, who determines which projects to be invested in? We have, uh, as we work in partnership and collaboration with our partners, we have specific areas that we offer support to our partners. That is unrestricted funding, but also like support in brainstorming, like strategic plans, or if they need support in M&E, or if they want us to, do some background research about certain topics they would like support on. So it's really from their end, like usually they share, we want this year, we want to do ABCD, and uh, when there is unrestricted funding, what they share with us, the action points or areas where they need support.
Yeah.
And then, yes, uh, they share maybe like budgets, or uh, if they want connections with other partners. But mainly, when they share like their annual plan, then they say we need specific support in ABC, or we want funding for this project, or we want uh, to learn about permaculture, so we need maybe training in this particular area. And so we source out for different, could be funding, it could be both to invest in the projects, but also to invest in the humans or the people themselves, to learn about certain skills, or to be connected to other organizations that inspire them, and also get support outside Mama Hope as well. So it's really from the partners. They kind of drive which area of support they feel Mama Hope should give a hand or support them in. So yeah.
So just to reiterate, if I've understood correctly, it's really the communities that determine, what needs to be funded, what needs to be addressed. Mama Hope doesn't come in with an agenda. you're there as a conduit to support them in ways that they need, but you're not planning it for them. It's truly led by the community. Am I understanding that correct? Okay. Yeah. When the communities, request your support, what are the areas that they typically want to work on or improve in the communities? What are the dreams?
Yeah. So our partners are, spread out in different parts of the world. Um, 5 countries, East Africa, Ghana, Guatemala, and they work in different areas. Some working with education, others in agriculture, others in water hygiene and sanitation. So very varying areas, but also some are actually having models that are linking different, spheres of their community. They could be providing education, but also working water and sanitation because it's linked to improving education, or regenerative agriculture or permaculture because they need to provide food for not only for the kids in school but also for the community or for their staff. So I think it still goes back to the needs of the community, and that defines the scope of the project. But in overall, we work with women and girls issues. We work with education, we work with care, we work with access to clean water. So it's very diverse.
Excellent. Okay. And how does Mama Hope go about engaging, developing prospective partnerships with the communities? How do you know that this is a good community to work
Basically, we will learn about a partner, or a partner will reach out to us, and we will decide that we believe that they would be a good partner for Mama Hope. And we usually start by giving a smaller grant,
with?
so
Okay.
that we can build trust and learn how we work together, and really, before we make a really big commitment to long-term partnership, we can really understand. So far, every person that we've picked to work with, we've continued to work with
Yeah.
for the longer term. I mean, some people in the very, very beginning, we worked with them, and now we have not continued to work with them. But since we took on the model of really starting with small amounts of money and building that trust, and I think trust is such a huge part of this work. Not only trust on our side, but trust in the whole entire process from our partners as well. There's, I think, a lot of distrust of other outside organizations and the way that they work in communities, what they demand from communities. And so we want to make sure that this is a truly mutually beneficial relationship, and that we're really able to grow with our partners, because the goal is that we're with them for the long term, and our goal is sustainability with communities, and that's something that takes time.
Yeah.
It's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah. Sounds like a really healthy, balanced approach. Because yeah, you're right. You can't build trust in a night. You have to experience that with time. And I appreciate the idea of starting with a smaller grant, and then seeing how they handle that, and then if they're responsible with it, and the collaboration goes well, then you can continue. So
Yeah, I think it's more seeing how the partnership is formed.
yeah,
It's really like looking at the whole entire, um, both people and how they're working together, as opposed to just using it as a measurement of judgment, because
sure.
that's not really what it is. Yeah,
Right, right. It's an incentive. It's not the end. It's not the end of
yeah,
the means, but it's a nice starting point to get the ball rolling. So
exactly.
yeah, just curious. Was that always your process, or did that come out of an experience that you had that made you realize, like, maybe we should start a little slower?
Yeah, I think I I mean, it came out of experience, but it also came out of just watching the way that a lot of organizations would drop a lot of money all at once on a partner. and not have really have planned for that community to have the infrastructure or the ability to be able to track that, and then things would not work out. And then we really never truly experienced that at Mama Hope, because the idea has always been relationship building.
Yeah.
And so I think it's learning from making sure that we're just in constant conversation with our partners about what it is that works and what doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
And I think the thing, when we were talking about who helps determine the projects, I also think, and Dennis, I would love to hear from you as well, is that our partners also help guide the evolving of the model for Mama Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Also, when you have like these annual conferences where we bring all our partners in one place to discuss different topics, but also some of the main discussion points is how do we move forward with our model, or how do we define some of the constituent components of our model. And so in that way, uh, you know, given like also the surveys around feedback about the partnership, or even during one-on-one conversation where we receive feedback about how the partnership is going or how they perceive it, I think these bring in a lot of um, opinions about how we are doing and how we can do better and how we can improve and how this can work for both sides, more especially how the partnership can evolve to create more impact in the communities they work with.
Yeah. Excellent. And then just for understanding, how many employees does Mama Hope have? And of the employees that you have, how many are in Africa or in other countries?
Do you want to go, Naila?
You can go, Dennis.
Okay. We are currently 5 people, and 2 are based out of the US, and 3 are based in East Africa. Yeah.
Okay. And in East Africa, are you all in the same country in East Africa, or are you in different? Because you serve 5 countries. So
Yes, we serve 5 countries: Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Ghana, Guatemala.
yeah.
And the 3 staff, one is based in Tanzania, another in Kenya, and another in Uganda.
Do you all just communicate then via forums like Zoom and WhatsApp? Is that kind of how you communicate with your staff? Okay. Okay.
We've always been a virtual team.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
So you're proof that it can work, and it works well. I mean, in 2021, I think we all know that now, but yeah. Excellent. Okay. And what would you say is one of the biggest challenges that Mama Hope faces in carrying out your work? And what solutions have you found to be effective in overcoming those obstacles?
I think it's starting to shift, but I think one of the biggest challenges was the development sector in general. That philanthropy, just being so focused on scaling, and having having donors really try to drive the mission. Donors who maybe have never been to Africa and experienced, or like even really met any of the community leaders. And so we really have tried to shift that. We've shifted our donor focus to really be more focusing on how to recruit donors from the continent. Also working a lot more with women, and just really figuring out how are the people who are being served in the work that we're doing also being represented in our donor pool. And also just like media. I mean, we started in 2006, so this was before, it was right at the beginning of Facebook, right at the beginning of Twitter, right at the beginning of all these social media platforms. And before that, you just really had kind of the infomercials of, the starving children and all of this. And in the very beginning, we decided that was not the route we were going to take. But it was something that was very radical at the time, and people, our Stop the Pity campaign was something that we really wanted to be the actual conversation of how do we change the motivation for people to give to just really the inspiration. And I think in a world that's really focused on anti-poverty,
Yeah.
and I really believe what you focus on grows. So really poverty is the focus there, like the ending of poverty, as opposed to, building prosperity, building partnership, building long-term visions. So those have been some of the challenges. And I think, we from the very beginning have always had the intention of making sure that our partners could be self-reliant, be independent, be profitable at a time of social impact where most of the impact is actually coming back to the West. Or if you're investing, the investments are coming back. And I'd love for Dennis to tell, the story, because over time, since we met in 2012, his organization has become 100% sustained on through local income. So I'm actually going to pass it off to you, Dennis, because
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about
I
that.
think it's a really incredible story.
Yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to pull back a second around the challenges as well. That when you look for partnerships or resources to invest in community-led development, eh, I think it has changed over time. But before it has been it was challenging to come by people who are interested to support work that is being driven, managed, and run by community or grassroots organizations. And so I think that was a very, challenging environment to get the resources, but also support to invest in community-led organizations. And I think, like Naila mentioned, it has been Mama Hope has contributed to that space in shifting that narrative. The PT campaign, and especially the last year, you have seen more conversation, vivid conversation and movement around that shift in power and why it's so valid. And so I think that challenge, but also the work around Stop the Pity has also been, or being more vocal through our social media, but also in other engagements like events or conferences. I think it has been a very interesting space to add our voice as an organization and advocating for why community-led development is sustainable development. Coming back to an example of why that is so relevant, BIC, the other organization I helped co-found in Uganda, right around the time we partnered with Mama Hope, we could barely support 5% of our overhead costs alone in a year. And Mama Hope, our main focus was how do we build our own financial muscle in order for us to run the operations of the organization at our own cost. And so, which Mom Hope took on board really so easily, and I think since then I've been so supportive in building these income generating projects to raise organizational revenues. And so we moved right from around 5% to 100%, where all our costs are covered by our own resources. And this, back then, you could find that the overall cost per month was almost less than $1,000. And up to this moment, when we have almost over 6,000 per month, that is, that need to run the entire spectrum of the operations of the organization. And that shows how much growth has happened by just having that space where we have partners that are willing to invest in what works for us as a community. And so, yeah.
Mhm. That's awesome. I mean, your group, it can be done. It's because I think, it's easy to think, oh, this is um, a nice idea, but how can it be done? But to actually be able to stand up and say it can be done, and we're doing it, and look, it can happen. So wow, I commend you for that, because that's, I don't know, that seems pretty, um, I don't know if cutting edge is the right term, but very innovative. When we've just talked about this previous shift of, oh, let's address poverty, let's go and throw a bunch of money at the situation, and that'll answer everything. Instead of, I mean, your approach, it just sounds much more holistic and organic, and ultimately healthier in the end. So kudos too for that. But of course, you still need some support. You still need some donations. So if anybody wanted to support your work, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Well, people can support our work, of course, by donating. I think I feel like people really kind of going and getting more awareness about community-led development is really a way to support this work, because even though it feels so second nature to us because we've been doing it pretty much since the beginning, it's something that is relatively new in the development sector, and really understanding the importance of that and learning about the organizations and who are focusing on that, I think is incredibly important. I think, what other ways can people support us, Dennis?
And they can also learn about our work and by visiting our website, mamahope.org. And there is also spaces if they want support financially, where they can donate, but also just learn about our partners' work, also about Mama Hope's model. Because I think one thing is, support could be financially, but also learning about the space is part of our work. Like, how do we share the values of investing in local solutions that are run by, community leaders, community visionaries, and some of this information can be found on our website or Mama Hope social media handles like Twitter or Instagram, Facebook.
Mhm. But can you tell us, I mean, you've touched on this a bit, but about the philosophy that guides your work, and how this mentality shifts, or how this mentality affects the progress that you see in your communities?
I think the philosophy is really that communities already have the answers, and that the best way we can support is by being a bridge, and that can be in so many different ways. It can be to resources, it can be to trainings, it can be to one another, and I think that at a time when we think of the pandemic, Mama Hope definitely um, had to experience letting go of some of our really cherished team, who actually really stood up and said, "We want to make sure our colleagues in East Africa are able to continue doing this work." And so some people from the U.S. and the U.K. and Canada decided to make sure that would be possible. So they're definitely heroes and allowed Mama Hope to continue at a time when a lot of other nonprofits, especially nonprofits focused on international work, were not able to. But the thing that was so remarkable is because our model is really focused on sustainability and making sure that our partners are self-reliant. At a time when we were able to only really invest about $250,000 into our partners, all of the income generating activities that they have produced around the exact same amount. So we were able to see our model even work in the middle of a pandemic. And I think part of that is we don't only just focus on funding humanitarian projects, which I think a lot of nonprofits do, education, healthcare, food, water security, but also the businesses. And since the profit is staying in the community and it's not something that is being paid back to donors or, some kind of impact investment scheme, it is actually something that allowed our partners to continue on and to pay their teams and to make it through this pandemic as well. So we have 12 partners, and all 12 partners are still going. And I think that that's a really remarkable thing. And also, they're really supporting each other. I think there's so much competition in this space. And because of the conferences that Dennis was talking about, our partners believe that they are like the Mama Hope family, and we are the Mama Hope family of organizations. And because of that, we have a very active group of people who are cheering each other on. And it's never about who's getting what funding or any of this. It's really about the fact that we are a group of people who have a common vision about how we can change the world and how we can transform our communities. And we want to see it happen all together. And I think because our philosophy has always been about partnership, it touches every single thing that we do.
Yeah, and also that it's the philosophy being about partnership. You could see that when you talk about funding, so a lot of people can think about projects. Well, I think projects is a very simplified way of putting it because I think Mama Hope does it invest in models that are run by community-led innovations. In other words, you can fund a project, it gets obstacles when it needs another project that will address those obstacles. Let's talk about healthcare. A partner is providing healthcare services, and all of a sudden, mothers have been giving birth, but after like 2 3 months, they come back with malnourished kids, or like they don't have access to food, or like stable supply of food at the household level. And then partners can innovate around that, not only providing healthcare services, but what can they do in communities to address underlying factors. And so they keep on building project upon project that holistically addresses a comprehensive array of issues that hinder the development of a community. And so just investing in one project might not solve all the issues, like many players in international development might want to stipulate. But it's about who is who are those leaders in the community who are innovating around addressing these issues, and how do we propel their work to move forward. And that's, I think, a very good, or like an inspiring way I think about the philosophy behind this partnership kind of arrangement.
I appreciate the distinction between project and a model. Because the project, like you say, there's typically a beginning and an end, and you tie it up with a bow and you're done and you move on. But a model is a way of continuing. And that, to me, I hear sustainability when I hear that. And I hear progress that will continue. So thank you for pointing out that distinction, because I think that it's a really good way of wording it. When we spoke earlier, you also expressed the importance of using an eye-level approach to engage your partners. Can you say more about what that means and how it's different from a top-down approach?
Yes, I think that so much of kind of these metaphors about like top down, bottom up kind of idea about how to do the work. What we say is we do it at eye level. Like it's really about being in real partnership with our communities, looking them in the eye, being in a space where we're creating with each other. And so we really try to make sure that when we are building something, it's really something that has been, as I said, like formed by our partners, in a space where it is met with deep respect, and those models conform in a way where we are, as I said before, like mutually benefiting from this idea. You know, we have this model to be able to support this kind of community-led transformation in the world. Our partners are doing the community-led transformation, and so much of the time I feel like that's not recognized, is the actual balance between what everybody is offering in the work. I think another metaphor, people are like, oh, so you're teaching people to fish. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, people already know how to fish. You know, like that's the thing that gets so annoying to me, is that kind of idea. I'm like, they're, you know, like they already know how to fish. They actually have a really innovative way to make a new like bamboo rod that's in their front yard that will allow them to have, you know, a million more fish. And we're just making sure that they have the funding to do that. So there's like these very simplified ways where I think people are like understanding this work that still like belittles it. And we're really trying to say, actually, it's about 20 steps beyond these things that make people feel good. Yeah.
What I heard in that too is the importance of not making assumptions, not assume that you know what they need or you have the answer.
Yeah. Why would I? I mean, I didn't grow up in Dennis's community. I actually, I think, you know, the reason I took a complete beginner's approach to every place I went, and responded as a guest. And really, when we have people go out, I say, look, I don't care if you have a doctorate in this. You are not an expert in someone's community that you have never been in. You've never met the people. Like, you actually have to sit and listen, because they're going to have ideas and innovations that you would never be able to think about because you actually haven't had the experience. And I think that's you know, there is this feeling of like, I now have this degree, so I can go anywhere and help anyone. And we're really trying to be like, actually, that's not very important. Like, really, what's important is the relationship. And that's really kind of the message we try to get out, even to our donors, is like, we have this beautiful opportunity because there are visionaries all over the world who are dedicating their lives to transforming their communities. They could do whatever they, you know, whatever they want to, but instead, this is what they're focused on. And you get to be part of that change. It's, I think, a very different message than a lot of other things out there.
Yeah. Dennis, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. I like what Maya said, because I think you could find people as well in the space that are really educated. You know, it's a lot of, you know, like, which is a very good thing in the space as well. But you find maybe some people, community leaders, I would maybe use that term, who haven't been to school, but they have spent 50 years of their life in the community. Those are 50 years of learning that no one else has. And I think that should, you know, be part of the, you know, the voices at the forefront, because that is 50 years of, you know, of value that is going to be very instrumental in the development of their community. And so still we find that we always circle back to partnership, because there is already a lot of richness that can come from very many sides of stakeholders. Could be people who have like funding, people who have knowledge, but I think also people who understand the work, who understand the social fabric, because funding alone will not do much if that is missing. It could do much, but you know, communities are dynamic, societies are dynamic. Things might change here and there, and then what you built may not stand the test of time if that rich value brought by, you know, community leaders is missing.
Yeah. And since the foundation in 2006 of Mama Hope, can you tell us about the impact that you've had in terms of how many communities you've engaged or anything?
Well, over time, we've worked with 29 communities. We've helped those communities build 320 projects. Dennis is the monitoring and evaluation guy, so he really knows. We have about 280,000 direct beneficiaries.
Oh wow!
And 2.6 million catchment area for the people that are supported by our work. Okay. And yes, and we've been in 9 countries since the beginning. Okay. But our model now is really to go deep instead of going wide. So we're really focused on working with these 12 communities, and making sure that we're helping them move to this place of sustainability, and that that is our hope and goal before we start to expand out to new communities.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talking about, I like numbers, but I don't use them. I don't use them often. But there is one number I really want to quickly highlight, that Mama Help has over 95% success rate, and that doesn't just mean that okay, we have funded these projects and they have been done from A to Z of the project, but they are actually functional. That is a very unique indicator for me, because it's not just about putting things out there. It's about how have they tested time, like over time. Like we have partners that have been with us for 12 years, 13 years, and those projects are still functional. That investment has impacted people for that long, over a decade, is still serving. And I think that is a very good way of seeing impact, because I also wish to see over time how this impact is sustained.
Yeah. So there's a little wind. I want to make sure I understood that number was 95% of your projects that have been funded in the course of about 15 years of being an organization are still effective today. I gotta say, I'm in this world too, and I read the data, and that is a powerful success rate. I know you don't want to focus too much on numbers, you want to focus on the people, but that, I think, speaks volumes of the impact that your approach is having. So,
and just to kind of pinpoint a story, there is in 2009 we partnered with an organization called Tanzania Children Concern to help them build a school, and that school is called St. Timothy's, and is an incredible school in Moshi, Tanzania area. But there was a young boy who was probably a 3rd grader when the school was being built. He went completely through the school. He was being supported, living in the boarding house and taken care of, and he's now a teacher there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So he went through, did college, he did teacher's college, and now he's back teaching. Yep. So I think, really showing kind of the true impact of being with someone for so long. There's actually 2 students that teach at that school now, and just for them to have grown up and see that complete transformation and shift. And that organization, Tanzania Children Concern, is also 100% sustained through local income. So it's amazing to stand in a field and have it be nothing, and then have it be a school, and then have it serve thousands of children, and then now have one of those children teaching at it.
Comes full circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. That was actually a good segue into my next question is, do you have any personal stories that have really impacted you in this work, that have either inspired the model or have inspired you to continue? So I'll leave the floor open to either one of you or both of you to share on that one.
I mean, I have countless, but I want to hear from Dennis.
As I was saying, we have several leaders within Mama Hope Network that are doing inspiring and incredible work. Pastor James, who is the founder and director of St. Timothy's School in Tanzania, he has this really incredible model, like have half-paying students, but also non-paying students. Those who are paying are basically from a bit of households with income or with a bit of income, and when they pay school fees, part of that goes to supporting students that are unable to pay school fees, so they get to access education prepaid by the weight pulled by the other wealthier families. And these are hundreds and hundreds of kids who are accessing quality education. um, and also that his school is now run 100% on locally generated income in terms of operational costs. And in talk of James Kirima, who was a global advocate East Africa from Tanzania, after completing Mama Hope's Global Advocate program, he started out his own organization and works with several women groups in community health insurance, but also small businesses where they take out loans and start out small businesses and take back the loans, pay it back, and then next person uh, gets access to the loan. And so you see how much that fund has been growing over time and how many people it's impacting. And myself as well, like starting out Suvi Health Center, that has over the last 6 years been growing, not only operation wise but the number of patients. We used to have a catchment population of 200,000, 20,000 people, and currently we cover around 400,000 people. Uh, we the majority of our operational costs were supported by external funding, and currently 100% is covered by locally generated income, and also extra layers of programmatic innovation that is addressing underlying obstacles to achieving well-being and good health, be it communicable diseases related to water hygiene and sanitation, environmental related conditions. And so, yeah, I think it's very interesting to see different models playing out in different contexts. And through unrestricted funding and support from Mama Hope, we see different leaders getting that space to innovate and do great things.
Yeah. And Nyla, how about for you?
I think I've had really the opportunity to stand with most of our partners and hear their vision from day one of what it is that they want. What is the vision they see for their community? And it is, for Dennis, I got to stand with his father in a field and say, we want to build this health clinic. And, a year later, have the health clinic open. They had actually started the foundation for the first part of the health clinic, and we came in and helped them do the second part. And to just see these these projects come to be, but then also like serving large amounts of people in the community and being part of that change. I think watching, I'm not sure if Dennis was saying it, but basically that health clinic became sustained by local income that through a bunch of different projects that Dennis helped lead. And then there was an opportunity for another organization that was focused on health, who was run by a Canadian organization who decided that they weren't going to be able to continue on. And because Budundo in a cultural center was already 100% sustained, they decided to merge with that other organization. And now Dennis is helping lead that, and that community is becoming slowly self-sufficient. And there's 2 health facilities in Uganda that organization, that Budundo Intercultural Center, is like really guiding. And I think that is just so remarkable. Um, and we see that with our partners when they start to become self-sufficient, they really look at how they can support other people in their communities. So James, who we talked about with St. Tim's School, um, once his organization kind of became profitable, he started taking that money and investing it into other education entrepreneurs like himself. And I think that like those stories aren't told enough, of just how when you're, like I said in the beginning, when you're not focused on anti-poverty, but you're focused on something that is so much bigger, the prosperity and self-sufficiency, and just a shift in consciousness in general, that happens, and creates new leadership, new opportunities. And that has been something over and over again that I have seen.
Yeah, very well said. Well, thank you both. Just one more time to reiterate, if somebody wanted to support your work or learn more about your work, what would be the best way for them to do that?
You can go to mamahope.org. We have a pretty active Instagram following, and Facebook, where we really are focusing on community led development and really telling the story, why it's important, and sharing the stories of our partners. Yeah, I think that's great. And we have some videos that we made a long time ago, probably 2013 or 14 was the last time we made one.
Yeah.
But our Stop to Pity videos, I feel, still are classic and worth checking out on YouTube.
Okay. Excellent. Well, we will definitely make sure that that is included in the link. And I thank you both for being here. I think we might have lost Dennis for a minute, but his participation was so valuable. So
Yes.
I really appreciate both of you being here today. And I just commend you for the work that you're doing and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Here at Emanate International, it is our mission to promote nonprofits and social enterprises that equip their recipients to become independent, autonomous, and thriving members of society. Indeed, Mama Hope is certainly doing great work to support sustainable development for several different communities in 5 different countries. If you enjoyed our discussion today, please be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be in the know for future inspirational conversations with other leaders who are making great gains in improving our world. Thank you.